Hello my dear friends, welcome back to your channel. My dear friends, 1 week ago, I uploaded a video about Scandinavian defense. So lots of my friends, they personally messaged me and said that please make lots of good videos about different lines and variations that we can play in Scandinavian defense. And I decided and prepared to make this fantastic video. So please watch the video till to end and enjoy from this fantastic and brilliant opening. So my dear friends, without wasting the time, let's get started the game. So in here your opponent is pushing the pawn into e4. In the first video of Scandinavian defense, I already explained. Scandinavian defense is happening while your opponent is pushing the pawn into e4. If you didn't watch my first video, so you can go inside my channel and you can watch the latest video that I uploaded 1 week ago. Otherwise, you can watch this video as well because this is also the different lines, but it helps you to get better in this opening. And here you just simply push the pawn into d5. So definitely your opponent is capturing the pawn because he doesn't want to lose the tempo. In the first video, I told you that what happens if you take out your knight and attack to this pawn. So it was one idea. But in here, I'm going to tell you that what happens if you attack the pawn by your queen. This is also the main lines that you can play in Scandinavian defense. So the best idea in here for your opponent is taking his knight and attacking to your queen. But majority of advanced players, they are pushing the pawn into d5. And the reason behind this move is that in the next move, your opponent is pushing another pawn and taking full control in the center. And after that, he can easily activate his knight. This is a very simple idea when you are playing in advanced level. You just simply take your knight into f6 and activate your knight. Now your opponent is pushing the pawn into c4 as per your expectation. So in this position as a black, majority of chess players, if they know or if they don't know, they are taking back their queen. And some players, they are giving this check, but this is not working in this part. So the best move in this position is giving a fantastic check by your queen. When you are giving this check, your opponent cannot cover this check by bishop because you are attacking to the pawn and targeting the rook. So in this position, the usual and logical move for your opponent is covering this check by his bishop. And in the next move, your opponent is preparing to attack to your queen. And you should keep in mind all these lines when you are playing the Scandinavian defense. So therefore, from protecting such a move, you have to push the pawn into e5. Now, if your opponent attack to your queen by his knight, you can simply pin the knight by your bishop, and you should not be in hurry. For example, in this position also your opponent doesn't have this move to threatening your queen because you have this fantastic move attacking the pawn and attacking to the rook. From other hand, your opponent cannot push the pawn because you are simply capturing the bishop and giving check. So in different ways, you can pressure to your opponent. When you pin the knight by your bishop, now your opponent cannot capture your queen. So maybe your opponent giving this check, and also when you are playing this fantastic opening, you have to keep in mind that you have to have a response to all the moves that your opponent is doing. So in here, if your opponent decides to give you a check, at the same time attacking to your bishop, in here you should not be in hurry, you just take your knight into c6 and defend from your bishop, as well as your opponent knight is pinned and he cannot capture with his knight your queen. So in this position, maybe you face with this move, your opponent is pushing the pawn into d5. Now you cannot move your knight because it is pinned. Maybe in somehow thinking you are losing one piece. And if anything happens, your bishop is also under pressure by the queen. And your queen is also under attack by the knight. So you are in a critical situation. So my dear friends, can you find what is the best move? And here for black. When you are facing in these situations, you should not lose your emotion and you should not lose your control. And here you have the best move, my dear friends, and that is sacrificing your knight by capturing the pawn into d5. And here your opponent cannot capture the knight by his knight because it is pinned. So the only option for your opponent is capturing the knight by his pawn. Now you have another brilliant move, and that is capturing the knight and giving a check. So your opponent has only one option, to capture the bishop by his pawn. In this way, your opponent is losing his queen. So if your opponent is losing his queen, so definitely there would be lots of chances for you to checkmate your opponent easily. So this was another line that I explained. So my dear friends, coming back to other lines that your opponents can play. Your opponent pushing the pawn into e4, you just simply push the pawn into d5. Now your opponent is capturing the pawn. And here you are not capturing. As I said in the first video, the main move, you are attacking to this pawn because you are forcing your opponent to do something. But in here, your opponent, instead of pushing the pawn, he is defending from his pawn. In this position, everything is going on normally, and now it is the time for you to take action. In this position, my dear friends, you have two moves. The first one is pushing this pawn, and the second one is pushing this pawn. In both cases, you can have the priority in the game. But let me start from pushing the pawn into e6, and I explain other move as well. And here your opponent is capturing. So now you are capturing by your bishop. So see, my dear friends, in here maybe you are down one pawn, but in here you activated two pieces in the game, but your opponent still didn't activate any one of his pieces. So in here, your opponent has different options to play, but one of the best move of your opponent is pushing the pawn into d4, as your opponent is controlling the center by his pawns. So this is also the logical move for your opponent. But in this position, you have this fantastic move, and that is giving a check by your bishop. When you are giving this check, your opponent is covering this check by his knight. Now you are jumping your knight and pinning the knight. If your opponent make a mistake to defend from his knight, so now simply you can capture the pawn by your queen. So this is also a very critical situation for your opponent. So you are attacking to the pawn by your bishop and also attacking, and everywhere you have lots of good moves. In this position, lots of players, they are losing their controls, and some players, they are taking their knights to attack to your queen, but by their surprise you have this fantastic checkmate in only one move by your queen. In different ways you can crush your opponent when you are playing the Scandinavian defense. So maybe some of chess players, they are thinking usually these moves are not happening. But believe me, lots of these openings and lots of these traps happened in the games of grandmasters, especially when you are playing chess, when you are bringing too much pressure on your opponent. So most of the time your opponent cannot predict the best move. So then in this way they are losing the game. So coming back to the other lines. So my dear friends, coming back to this position. In this position, I'm going to show you another line that you can play with your opponent. And also this one is playable. So you can push a pawn into c6. Your opponent is capturing your pawn, and now you are capturing the pawn easily by your knight and activating two strong piece in the game, as your opponent didn't develop any other pieces. So my dear friends, in this position, your opponent doesn't have this option to push the pawn because you are controlling the square by your knight and by your queen. So your opponent is taking his knight, and now your opponent is preparing to push the pawn. So before that, you are pushing the pawn into e5 and you are controlling this pawn. You are not allowing your opponent to push his pawn. So in this position, the best and logical move for your opponent is activating another piece, and he is taking his knight into c3, but in here you are pushing the pawn into e4 and attacking to your opponent's knight. Your opponent cannot jump to these two squares because you control these two squares by your knight, and also it is a passive move for your opponent to take back his knight. So your opponent is taking his knight into g5 and attacking to your center pawn by two force, as you have only one force. You just simply defend from your pawn by activating your bishop into f5. Now you have two force to defend from your pawn, and your opponent also attacking by two force. And there is not a good move for your opponent, as your opponent cannot push his pawn because you are capturing easily and this is not a good move for your opponent to activate his bishop in this critical situation, but maybe the only move for your opponent. And most of the time, you are facing with this move, and that is queen to e2. And the reason behind this move is that your opponent is attacking to your center pawn by 3 fours, as you have 2 fours to defend from your pawn. But in this position, my dear friends, you are not caring about your pawn, and you jump your knight into d4 and attacking to your opponent's queen. And also you have this fantastic fork check to your opponent. So therefore your opponent is defending from this square by taking his queen into d1. Now you don't have this check to grab the rook, but you have another fantastic move, and that is pushing the pawn into h6. There is only one option for your opponent, and that is taking back his knight into h3. Now, without any hesitation, you just capture the knight. So your opponent is capturing. Now you have this brilliant check by your knight. Your opponent cannot capture it by his queen because he is losing the queen. Maybe your opponent in this position, he doesn't want to lose his queen, so he is simply bringing his king into e2. But in this position, you have checkmate in only one move. Can you find it, my dear friends? Yeah, sure. You have this brilliant checkmate in only one move by your queen, as your opponent cannot move anywhere, and you locked everywhere by your queen and by your knight. So thank you so much, my dear friends, for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you like the video, please subscribe the channel, share it with your friends and family members. And this way you are motivating me to make lots of good videos in the future.